Good day, and welcome to NACTV's Coffee Chat. My name's Lyle Watson, and we're going to be talking with our guest today, and our guest is Rita Friesen. And Rita is a local lay minister here with the United Church, and we're going to be talking about Christmas traditions in different ways and forms and how different people celebrate the Christmas season. And it's coming up very quickly, so it's a timely topic, and thank you, Rita, for joining us today, and I look forward to our chat here.
Thank you. I enjoy being here.
Well, it's our time goes very quickly, so we'll get right into it. We're going to kind of explore your wide range of Christmas traditions in different denominations as you grew up. And you started where were you born, and what denomination were you born into?
I was born in southern Manitoba in the Winkler Hospital, but my earliest years were in the Kane area, surrounded by both sets of grandparents, a set of great-grandparents, and scads of cousins. And so the Christmas time was truly a family time. Mm-hmm. My earliest years, we lived on my paternal grandparents' farm. So we had part of Christmas with that family, and then we drove 2 miles away and spent Christmas with my maternal grandparents.
Wow.
So it was Christmas Eve as our unit, Christmas Day divided between both sets of grandparents. And the grandmothers always gave us a gift. It might have been a hand-embroidered apron.
Yeah.
My paternal grandmother loved chocolate-covered cherries, so we always got a box. I still don't like them, Lyle.
Yeah.
But they were simple gifts, and when you take into consideration I have 45 first cousins on my mother's side, you wouldn't be investing a whole lot in every grandchild. And
yeah.
Simple gifts from the heart.
Simple gifts from the heart. Well, that's worthwhile remembering as we go through our conversation today. Now, that bringing up was in the Mennonite church.
It was. And it was in a time when the Christmas tree in the home was very much accepted. They would actually have candles on them at the one grandparent's house, and the other one had those glass candles that had the bubbly liquid that went up and down.
Yeah, I remember that.
But at that time, you did not have a Christmas tree in the church at Christmas time.
Really?
That was considered distracting. That was, you could have it in your home, absolutely, but it wasn't in the church. But we had wonderful Christmas concerts on the 24th, and the Sunday school classes would be involved in community.
And you celebrated the birth of Christ.
We celebrated the birth of Christ.
Yep.
And
when you think back, and you look back, and I know you do that on a regular basis, your memories of your childhood and growing up have to be good in the family tradition.
They're wonderful. Family is almost synonymous with food because every one of those gatherings, everybody brought something, and you knew which auntie was going to bring what, and all of that. So food was really important. And the Christmas oranges and the bags of peanuts and the mixed nuts that you cracked painfully.
Yeah.
It's very all intertwined with just a time of being loved, being very much loved and accepted by the extended family.
By the family.
Yeah.
So at what point in your life did you move on from the Mennonite denomination, so to speak, into your next part of your journey? And where did you go in that next part of your journey?
I married Ed in 1974, and we as a unit chose to leave southern Manitoba, so we moved to a farm at Riding Mountain in 1978. There were no Mennonites in the area. We were the only Friesen in the phone book. There were no Friesens in McCreary or Kelwood or Burnie or Neepawa. In 1979, we were the first Friesens in.
And Friesen is a common Mennonite.
It's a very common Mennonite name. And so individuals from the Calvary Chapel here approached us and invited us to come up for services. And we did that for a number of years. And we also fellowshipped at a small place called Norgate, and that was a church that was started by the Canadian Sunday School Mission. And they expanded to build a new building in McCreary. So a bit of time in the Gospel Church at McCreary, more years in the Calvary Chapel here.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So then you, and what memories or what traditions did you come to your mind from that journey, part of your journey?
Oh my gosh, the Christmas concerts became much, much more elaborate. Now we had musicals, and we had costumes, and we had choreographed movements, and the message of Christmas was always there. The birth of the child that changed the world, that was in every one of those musical productions that were put on.
Okay.
It was just less restricted than the concerts of my early years. Those early Mennonite concerts were really quite controlled.
Yes. Yeah.
and the other ones were, I would say, more openly joyous.
So you were able to celebrate the true spirit of Christmas with the love, the peace, and the hope of the season.
Absolutely. The gospel story was never diminished.
Yeah. So then, at some point in time, you took another step in your journey of life.
And this was also controlled by Ed. When we sold the farm at Riding Mountain and we moved to the acreage just outside of town, he decided it was time for a change. And so by the process of elimination, he chose the Neepawa United Church. And I said, he was 70 years old at that time, and I knew it was his habit, his lifelong habit, to attend a church service.
Yes.
And I said, you're not going to be happy if you don't choose any. So he sat down meticulously and went through all the ones available, and he picked the Neepawa United.
Wow.
And so in 1997, we became card-carrying members of the Neepawa United Church.
Okay. And after you joined the congregation at the United Church, you were inspired by something or somebody to become a lay minister and to study that.
It would be fair to say that I was goaded. Joe Ball was one of our ministers at that time, and at that point, Neepawa was a 3-point parish. There was Arden and Brookdale and Neepawa, and 2 ministers, and so Joe started saying, well, maybe you could take the service out at Brookdale or Arden or that kind of thing. And finally he said, you should really go for training. And so with the support of the Faith family and my family, I did. And it was a 2-year course, and it was good. It was very good.
So you become, is licensed the right word to use?
It is. In 2011, I graduated as a licensed lay worship leader in the United Church of Canada.
Yeah.
And that does have to be renewed every couple of years. I have to still meet credentials, take more courses on, mostly now it's sexual abuse and harassment that we have to stay very current on.
Yeah.
So that's a course I just completed within the last year again at their request.
But as a lot of our viewers will realize, that they've been to different church denominations or different services, funerals and celebrations of life, where the person necessarily wasn't connected to any particular church, but Rita Friesen was still there and conducted the service. So can you go to any church?
I have no boundaries.
You have no boundaries?
I have no boundaries.
Do some of the other church denominations, do they have boundaries?
Yes, sir, they do. There are some denominations that would not be comfortable with someone not of their denomination coming in and hosting a service.
Yeah.
And that's fair. That's where they stand, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you do apparently, as I've witnessed, you enjoy doing celebrations of life for people that are non-churchgoers also.
Absolutely. And within the last 2 or 3 years, I've really expanded my role in the community. I officiate a number of weddings every year.
Oh yes, yeah.
And that's a joyous time.
Yep.
My greatest satisfaction is when I can meet with a family at the time of their loss and bring them comfort. I don't appreciate the word closure very much, because we can never close those empty gaps in our life by the loss of someone we love. But we can complete the circuit. And for me, that's a whole different connotation, closure to completing a circuit.
Yeah, interesting.
And so when we can gather and share memories and bring comfort, and again, Lyle, it is that babe in a manger that allows one to do that. So that's the basis.
Yep. So in terms of Christmas traditions over your life journey to this point, have you seen or do you celebrate Christmas any differently than you did?
Oh, I absolutely do. I've been blessed with just a handful of wonderful grandchildren and now great-grandchildren. And so when the grandchildren first started appearing on the scene, I said to their parents, I said, I'm not in a competition with any other grandparent or any other auntie or uncle. I don't do that. And so my grandchildren knew from the time they knew what Christmas was, that at Grandma Rita's house, there would be love, there would be food, there would be laughter, there would be games, there would be no gifts. So I did not give them Christmas gifts, I did not give them birthday gifts, I did not give them things at Easter or Valentine's. But every summer we went on a vacation. I'm the matriarch of a blended family. There's a lot of chunks in that blender, Lyle. It just clangs like heck when you turn it on. But they all had other commitments. All of my adult children had other voices calling them.
Yep.
So I just said, keep Christmas really, really simple. Don't worry about whether you are with me, us, on Christmas Day. You can't be everywhere. They all could set aside 10 days or 2 weeks every summer. And we were able to go to Drumheller, Ontario, sometimes just Manitoba camping, yep. Banff, Canmore. So my grands all knew there, no presents, but summertime
yep.
was going to be a holiday.
You mentioned a simple Christmas.
Yep.
And I stand back and I observe, I like things simple, and I find that the simplest or the best things in my life are simple and don't cost much.
Right.
And I look at the commercialization of Christmas, and how do you look at the commercialization of Christmas compared to the simplicity and the celebration and the traditions that you've enjoyed over your lifetime?
When I see people that I love and respect agonizing over what to give someone else who already has everything, I am baffled. I am baffled. The needs in our community, in our country, in our world are so great yeah. that we would be more gratified, more blessed if we shared with someone who truly had nothing than trying to figure out one more thing to give somebody who has everything.
Yeah. And you mentioned the pressure on people of the worrying about buying and what they're going to buy and spending this and that, and it does cost a lot of money. How do you relate to your family members? Obviously, have you got that message through to them? Do they enjoy the simplicity of Christmas at your house?
Not to the same degree. I do respect that they're very, very careful with my grown children for what they give their children.
Yep.
It will be either a heritage piece passed on, like your sweater will be one day.
Yes.
Ed collected pocket watches. So one year, my oldest son asked if he could have some of them, and he has 4 children. He had them repaired. He has a plaque on them. He's got them in a case. That was his Christmas gift to his children that year, was one of their grandfather's watches, pocket watches, right?
Yeah.
That's lovely. That's meaningful. In another case, we know that there's someone that's just struggling to provide what they would like to have for their children, the next generation. So the gift is dance lessons, or it's skating equipment. Much more meaningful.
And practical.
And practical.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with a practical gift.
Yeah. If I may, you mentioned
Yes.
the sweater.
Yes.
I would like to share this sweater, the story and the memory that I have. And it started back in the Christmas of 1994. And this was the last gift at our family Christmas gathering that my mother and dad gave me on the Christmas of 1994. And my mother passed away in October 95, so that was the last Christmas she was with us. And this sweater has been as close to my heart, and when I have it on today, I know my mother's with me.
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and she's probably smiling and saying, "Oh, I remember buying that, or remember gifting that to Lyle in 1994." And arrangements have already been made in our family, and that's one of our traditions also, that these things will be passed on.
Right.
And our son, Derek, he's in line, and when I'm done with it, he gets my sweater, my last Christmas present from my parents. So, and it's special.
It is.
So I just really enjoy the opportunity today to wear it.
Yeah. Those things are so meaningful.
They are.
They are.
But probably just to me. But they're also meaningful to our family.
Yeah.
Because then they relate, and then they think about
The story
things what
goes
Grandma did
on
and Grandpa
on.
did.
The stories.
Yeah, the stories and the
go
memories
on.
just keep
Yep.
rolling, and it's just it's a wonderful part of the celebration of Christmas for us.
Right.
Is the sharing of the memories and as we go through life and the different stages and what our parents and grandparents did at certain ages, and how Judy and I are living compared to them, and
Right.
Yep. But we look at the world today, and it's certainly stressed, and we talk about the spirits of Christmas, the love, the joy, the peace, and the hope. And can you comment on those true meaning, the true spirit of Christmas, Rita, that we've celebrated for many years, and yet when we look at the world situation, it appears we've lost it someplace?
That gift from God of that babe in a manger is the pinpoint of changing our world. That babe was given in absolute love to a world that was troubled even then. It was not a time of peace when Jesus was born. With my understanding and with my experience, I have chosen Jesus, that babe, as my mentor, not everybody likes the term, my tribal leader. We're a tribal people. We want to have a strong leader. And I have chosen Jesus. The teachings never fail for how to live our life, how to accept and pass into death. Those lessons are firm. Underpinning all of that is hope. And I look around and I see people without hope. And that's what that birth of the baby did. It gave us a hope. There is a life after death. This life is a gift. It is a temporal thing. It is a temporary thing. And then there is an eternity. We will be reunited with those we love that have gone before us. Our flame may be a very, very, very short flame, but we have the ability to brighten the darkness around us while we are here. And it will flicker and it will go out.
It will.
But the reality is that we go out in hope. We go out in the hope of the resurrection, that as I breathe my last here, I have graduated. I have graduated and I breathe my next one in a new realm. And that's a hope that sustains us. And I look to, and the conflict in our world right now is horrendous and it's heartbreaking. And you wonder how a God of love can allow that to happen. Right from the plan of creation, God gave every one of us that free will. And that free will is what's doing it. The greed, the need for power, control, oppression, it comes from a human heart that has found people that followed that teaching. So that I can't, if I'm going to blame God, it's because He gave me a free will. That's what it comes down to.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean that our God isn't a God of love when we see that turmoil around us.
Yeah, we have a choice.
And I do know that even those who have a faith in Jesus the Christ, who believe in God as our master designer, I know even they have moments where they lose their hope, and many of them do choose to die by suicide. It's not an infallible Band-Aid that we put on, that this is going to protect us from everything. But it gives us that hope. So.
And that's what the Christmas tradition and the Christmas celebration can bring us.
Absolutely.
And Rita, as I sit and listen and I look at you as you converse your thoughts to me, there's a peace within your mind. And I don't think I'm assuming this. I'm pretty confident I can see that peace in your mind and your heart. And it's well worth celebrating at Christmas time.
It is well with my soul. I am at peace. And does life throw me some curveballs? Absolutely. Do I bow and weep? Absolutely. Do I get back up and salute my King? You bet. So.
And on that note, and you get back up, and I know you, as all our viewers at some point in time, have been mourning and grieving the loss of a loved one.
Right.
And I look back in our family life, and Christmas time is always, especially that first Christmas, in part of the grieving process. Can you share some of your thoughts on grieving and mourning and how it relates to that first Christmas, for example?
For some individuals, that first Christmas they want so dramatically different that they don't have to harbor any sorrow. That's okay for them. For me, it is my traditions. It is going to church. It is going to the Christmas Eve service. It is having my family around me that strengthens me for the next step. We do, in many, many communities, have an evening that we set aside that's either called the Blue Christmas or an evening of reflection. And it is a time when those who are, they are sad, not just because of the death of a loved one. It could be the loss of a marriage or a job or a dream. It's an evening when we get together, we reflect on God's goodness, and we can be at peace together without being expected to jump up and shout hallelujah. So those blue Christmases or quiet Christmases, they're really a good point of healing for those who have lost a loved one or suffered a loss.
Yes, and the other thing I was thinking about is you had mentioned the food and Christmas kind of go hand in hand.
In my world.
I was blessed, Rita, of being raised in a multicultural community and inclusiveness, even back when I was a child, 70 plus years ago, I can remember our door being always open, and other neighbors and friends, their door was open, even though we weren't of the same culture. One of the fondest memories I have on Christmas Eve is driving in a horse and sleigh several miles across country with a road allowance with no gravel or no road, and going to Ukrainian friends and enjoying their 12 meatless dishes.
Wow.
And their family and friends, and there'd be a gathering, but we were always included. And I think back, and it's so special, and I share it with our kids quite often, but there's something about that food and fellowship and the inclusiveness of different cultures that certainly can add a lot to the celebration of Christmas.
A thing to really remember for those of us who have suffered recent losses, we cannot expect everyone to stop what they're doing to take care of our needs. There are times when it's extremely difficult, but we need to pick up the phone and say, come for coffee, or meet you for coffee, or we cannot simply sit and wait to be served.
Yep.
We need to let others know that we have a need, and that's challenging.
And that's challenging. The other thing that comes to mind is that I'm not a regular church goer, as you know, Rita.
That's not my fault, Lyle.
No, I know.
I tried.
We've had a few discussions, enjoyable ones. But I do remember oftentimes you had mentioned the Christmas Eve service.
You bet.
I can remember the churches being full on Christmas Eve, and for a lot of people it was just the only time of the year that they went to church. Are we still seeing that in our society, or has that changed?
The pendulum is slowly swinging back.
Is it?
And now it is very often a grandparent that wants their grandchild to have the experience of attending church, and which is the best way to introduce them to a faith.
Yep.
So the pendulum swings.
Well, yeah. So you think the pendulum is swinging back?
I do.
And we're going to. Well, I hope for the sake of society that is the case, because we got to go some direction, and we're not going in the right direction at this point.
We need hope.
We need hope.
We need hope.
And with that word hope, our time has run out kind of quickly on us, Rita, and I would like you to share a closing thought with our viewers, how you feel about Christmas and the traditions and where we're at today.
Christmas is so much more than the tree, than the lights, than the food and the family. Food is, or Christmas is, that babe in the manger that brings that hope, that peace, and that joy, despite everything else going on in one's world.
Thank you. Well, thank you for taking the time, Rita, and we wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas, and hope you have a happy family time together and reflect on the good memories that you have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our program today, and we thank you for taking the time to be with us, and we'll hope that you enjoy our Christmas tradition program and our coffee chat with Rita, and we look forward to next time. Until then, stay happy and be healthy.
Thank you.